All right, you're right. So to draw our nesting box, here I am in Fusion, and I also have my OneNote open. So remember, you might need your cutting list if you can't remember your dimensions. So here's my OneNote. So I flick back to Fusion. Remember, the way that Fusion works is we're going to draw a 2D shape using our sketch tool up here, and then we're going to extrude our 2D shape into a 3D shape using our extrude button. So if we just start here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the front of my nesting box. So here's my cutting list that we used in class in the content library. And this is what the front of my nesting box would look like, because mine is a triangle nesting box. So I'm going to click on my sketch button, and then I need to choose where to draw the sketch. Do I want the front, the side, or the bottom? So I'm going to draw the front because I'm using the front of my nesting box like so. So once I'm in my front view, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit, and I have all of my sketch tools up here now. So the main ones we're going to use are the line tool, maybe the rectangle or circle tool, and the dimension tool. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the line tool, and we're just going to draw our nesting box. So this is what mine looks like. So I'm just going to draw this shape without this line in here. So let's grab the center. I'm just going to click and click, and I'm just going to keep clicking until I've got a fully completed shape. So just remember, don't stop there because it's not fully closed. We also need to join it back to the start. So there is my nesting box, which looks the same as my front view. And what I'm going to do now is I need to make it the right size. So how big is this? Well, if I get out of my line tool by pressing escape and I click on this line, down the bottom here it says it's 100 millimeters. Now over here, my cutting list says it's 350 tall, 180 wide, and 12 thick, but we don't worry about the thickness. So it's 350 high this way and 180 wide this way. So I'm going to grab my dimension tool. I'm going to click on that line. So dimension tool, click on that line and click again. And now I can type in 180. And it looks a little funky because it doesn't know what the other lines need to be yet, which is okay. I'm then going to choose from the top point to the bottom needs to be 350 because that's the total length of my front piece of wood. So 350 and press enter, which means this one here needs to be how big? Well, if we cut out our triangles in class, it's the same maths that we do here. So it's 350 high. We know that when we marked out our triangle, we found the middle from the edge in, we found the middle, which would be half of the width. And then we went down the same number. So in this case, we found 90 and we went down 90. So how do I do that? Well, I can either dimension this one, or if I get out of that one, let's delete him. I can go from this point to this point and say here that he's 90. If you want to do it the other way and you don't know how to do the maths, it would be 350 minus 90. So I can just type that in, 350 minus 90. Now, this isn't quite right. Why is this not quite right? Because you'll notice that this wasn't 90, I typed in 70. So I can just double click that and change it. Now we've also got one more issue. So this is the right size, this is the right size, this is the right size. What about this guy here? So he's not in the middle. We need to tell it that this point needs to be in the middle. So we could dimension him from here to the side and say it needs to be 180 divided by 2. So I can just type that in 180 slash, which means divided by 2, and press enter, and it'll work it out for me. So there is my front side of my nesting box using the dimensions from my cutting list and the number that I had to use when I marked out my timber in class. Just remember, if yours is 140 wide, this number is going to be 70, not 90. Once I've got it drawn, I click Finish Sketch up the top here, and then I'm going to extrude it. Now, if I click Extrude, it'll automatically select this because there's nothing else. And I need to know how far. If I just type in 50 for now and press enter, nothing happens but it changes colour. But what's actually happening is you can't see it because you're looking exactly front on there. So if I rotate it, you can actually see it's becoming 3D. You can rotate it using these buttons up the top right here too. So just be aware, if nothing's happening, it's probably because you're looking at the front. Now, I've typed in 50. How long this way does my nesting box need to be? Well, that would be the length of my sides. So I'm going to make it 260. So I'm going to go back here. Now, I've already done my extrude. So I could do another extrude, but then I'd have to know how big this is and add it on. Or down the bottom here, every time we draw something or do something, it lives down here. So I've got my first sketch, then I've got my extrude. If I double click that, it'll open it up again and I can change it or edit it. So I could click and drag, or I can just type in my number here. So 260, enter. There is my nesting box and the main part of it. So what is next? Well, we need to add our roof and we need to add our base as well. So how are we going to do that? Well, the same process. We're going to draw a 2D shape and make it 3D. So I'm going to sketch this time again. So 2D shape. I'm going to do it off the front of my nesting box again. And it's going to spin around. And this time I'm going to add my base. So I'm just going to grab the rectangle. And we know that the base is going to go from that corner to that corner. And let's just click there. It's a pretty close, but it's not quite right. So we're going to dimension. Now my base is 250 long, 180 wide, and 12 millimeters thick. So in this case, we're going to use our thickness here, which will be 12. And then it is 180 wide. And then when we extrude it, we're going to use this number here, the 250. So we're going to finish that sketch. This time I'm going to just rotate it around a little bit. Maybe not that far. Let's go to about there. I'm going to extrude. I'm going to have to click on it this time because it's got more than one option. I'm going to go back this way. Now, you'll notice my cutting list has a little bit of an issue. So my base is 250, but my sides are 260, which means they're longer on the sides. So we're going to make this 260. Now you'll notice when I drag that, it's minus 260. Remember, Cartesian planes, this way is plus, this way is minus. So if it goes the wrong way, just click plus or minus. So I'm going to go 260 that way, but I also want it to come out the front a little bit. So there's my minus 260. I'm going to come over this side and I'm going to change the one side to two sides. And that means I can then also come out the front a little bit. I'm going to choose 100 just because my cutting list was wrong. So now I've got my base and the front. If I click OK, you see it's sort of all joined as one piece. So I kind of want it to look different, so it's different pieces. So I'm going to go back into my extrude. I'm going to change this thing here that says operation from join to new body. New body means like new piece, new part. And you'll see now it looks like a completely separate piece of wood. So now I've got the main part of my nesting box and my base. I need to add my roof. So we're going to go sketch. We're going to go off the front. And we're just going to try and draw our roof on to the best of our ability. So easiest way to do that, line tool. I'm just going to choose the point at the top here. I'm going to come down and I'm going to draw it along the line that already exists. And we all know that our roofs, by now we should know, overhang a little bit. So we're going to go down there. We're going to go up. We're going to go up to about here. And we can come back down. So there's number one. But what do I do next? I need to dimension. So 12 millimeters thick. 12 millimeters thick. And how long and how wide is my roof? So my roof is 180 wide and 250 long. So this length is actually my width. So this one needs to be 180. So now he's about the right size. Once I draw him, I'm going to finish that sketch, or I can draw my other side at the same time because we could extrude both at once. So let's do that. Same thing again, draw him up to, let's just draw him to that point because we know that's right. Dimension 12, this one's 180, and there are my roofs. I'm going to click finish sketch. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit, which you can do with 2 fingers up and down. And I'm going to zoom around. Then I'm going to extrude my roof and my roof. And we're going to come this way, which was minus 260. And because my cutting list is wrong, I needed to use 260 again. And you'll notice I've pressed enter, which means now I don't have separate pieces. And I want my roof to come out the front a little bit. So I'm going to double click on my extrude. I'm going to go 2 sides. I'm going to pull it out about 100, same as my base. And I also need to change it to new body, so I have separate pieces. And there is my roofs now, which is nice. So lastly, I need to add a hole and a perch. So how do I add a hole? Well, it's the same process. There is a hole tool here, but I wouldn't use that for this. That's for doing things like screws and bolts and threads and things. So all we're going to do is we're going to go sketch in the front here. We're going to grab our circle. We're going to draw the hole that we want. And I might say, oh, I want it at 90 millimeters. And I'm going to finish that sketch. This time I'm just going to extrude back in so I can actually make a hole. So I could go all the way through. And if I do that, I'll show you there's actually a hole through everything. Or I don't really want that. So I might just go through 200. Now, I know that doesn't quite look right because your nesting box isn't hollow in the middle, but that's okay for now. Later on, we can show you how to hollow out the whole middle as well, but we'll leave it like that for now. And lucky last, on my nesting box, I'm going to have a perch. So I'm just going to come back in, sketch, draw my perch at, say, 15 millimeters, finish my sketch. I'm just going to pull my perch out and click new body. Go OK. And there's my perch. Now that's my nesting box done. Yours will be a grey colour. If you want to change the colour, you can right click or 2-finger click and go appearance. And then you can come into here and choose all sorts of things. So if I go into wood, there we go, stained, and we just keep opening things. I could say I want a nice cherry colour and drag that on and it'll change it to cherry. So it'll change the whole body or the whole piece to that colour. So feel free to change the colour of your nesting box. The other thing you'll notice is that mine has these funny dotted lines on it. So what it's currently showing is it's showing all of the hidden details. So all the things that are behind there, like here where my hole stops inside, so I can see it just in case I'm trying to work around things. So if you want to turn that off, you come down to display, visual style, and change it from shaded with hidden edges to shaded with visible edges only. Once you've got that, we probably just need to take a screenshot of a couple different angles, like so. Make it look nice so I can see your work. And then we're going to go over to our OneNotes and we're going to find the page that says Final Design Solution and paste the pictures in there. Thanks, you.